Hello, everybody. We are in Los Angeles, California. Actually, we're in Hollywood, California, really. Downtown Hollywood, we're all just kind of getting in trouble. I'm the angelic one like you. I can't speak for the rest of these people, but I am angelic like. Uh, so we are here with some of the illustrators from the winners of Writers and Illustrators of the Future. We're just doing little interviews for the big one in the future. So I'm going to have introduce her. Let her introduce yourself. Give me your name, location, life. Not just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, on the day I was born.
The year was 1806.
My name is Tremani because my mama went and got creative on me.
That's what mine was for.
Oh, I know, but why did mine have to?
I wonder often ask that question myself.
For anyone wondering, my mother is not a writer, and yes, she named me Tremani. Growing up, every time a new Harry Potter book or movie or really anything came out, it became Termionini for the next 6 months. The little 9-year-old me was just like, I'm not a ninny. But now I think it looks good on the bottom of a painting, so I'm happy with that.
You do it now. You remember what they told you about your signatures, right? Not like you would sign a check.
Well, I'd had some more thorough advice prior. Someone told me that you want to sign it with something. Basically, you want to act like you already have carpal tunnel, so you don't get carpal tunnel. So you just do something quick and simple and get it done with. But something that still looks cool. So I did this little scrolly thing.
It's it's like any painter or anybody for that matter who is in art or any kind of artist. Mm-hmm. And it's good to have it just a different one. Matter of fact, when I'm signing archives and things like that, it's not the same signature I use.
Well, calligraphy helps. I used to do that because, boring childhood.
Somewhere in this computer is a signature. I just hit enter and you got to go. And auto sign.
Golden technology, man.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. So now you've been here for what? Almost a week, right? 5 days? 4 days?
Long enough that I lost my sense of time and I couldn't tell you accurately.
we're all on different time zones except for Youngman over here. She's on her regular time. For the rest of us, like, I feel sorry for the East Coast at the most because it's 3 hours.
Oh, I know. And we got a lady here from Hungary, and I can't imagine
she's such
that jet lag.
It's got to be so. When I told John, I wish you'd told me because I got some really good translated headphones. Really good ones. And I would let them use them the whole time they were here, so she could just, whoever she wanted to talk to, she could just hand it the other one to.
Well, and she's really nice, but she has this translation app, and sitting next to me, and I was trying to say something to her, and we both wound up laughing our heads off. But the app accidentally ended up changing what I said to something about her being my wife. And she kind of looked at it and she's like, "Oh no, you have husband, yes?" And I'm like, wait, what did this just say? And she says, this mistake. And I looked at it and I saw bits and pieces on the phone and I'm like, no, that was not right.
Look, I'm bad about using voice over text, and I'm bad about not going to check it. I had to start checking because it says stuff and sometimes it changes words and things. I'm like, oh my God, I made somebody mad. So now you got to meet all the staff. They good? Yep. They treating you good?
Spoiled.
Yes, they're good. They spoil me rotten, so I tell them all the time. But see, they've kind of become family for me now. But I miss them when I'm not up here. But you heard, I've been hard on them. I was, y'all wouldn't have seen my face here if it would have turned out to be what it was when I came out. And John told me I could talk to anybody I wanted, anytime I wanted, about anything I wanted. And he told the staff when I came in, if he wants to talk to you, talk to him. Just answer. John said, just answer.
Well, all right. Here's your chance. Shoot your questions.
Yes. But anyway, so you're here. I mean, you got y'all been. Do you have any favorite instructors yet?
Oh, favorites. That's a hard one. Not favorite instructors, but I will say I think I had the most fun at Pryor's studio so far. Okay. There's a thing about working to get to the level where you're winning in this competition, and you're really focusing on improving your craft and make your work better, right? And going into that studio, he's like, I'm going to teach you how to have fun with it again.
That's important.
Yeah,
it really is, because you can find yourself when you get into a career that you really like, finding yourself not liking it as much. Once it becomes a real job, sometimes it shifts. And I got in construction because I like working with my hands. I like building. So I have all kinds of degrees. And still today, my friends would just ask me, why'd you do that? I said, I like it. And of course, when I got to a certain point, I was making really good money on it. So it paid off for me. But even though it did burn out, I eventually burnt out on it because I didn't let myself take vacations, try something different. So it's always good to learn to have fun with whatever you're doing.
Well, I know it's a little bit of a cliche, but I think you really do better work when you're enjoying what you're doing, especially if it's something creative,
The radio station proved that to you.
Yeah.
We're all having fun. The numbers are going through the roof. My hosts go there. They'll start laughing and cutting up, and you just watch the numbers go. You watch them go up a lot. And you know what gets me? I don't even know how people know. I mean, unless they're tuning in, or those people go, "Hey, you gotta come listen to this video on there." It's really don't. It's kind of funny. So yeah, you got to meet Emily? I'm sorry.
Emily.
She's like a elusive reindeer or something, but
I'd actually met her before at a different symposium, but she was incredibly nice. John is
John's a good guy.
There aren't words. I mean, he's nice. He's professional. He's doing everything he can to try and help you and make you feel comfortable. And
he tries to make this thing go off without a hitch. I give him trouble like, Joni's the boss, Emily's the boss, but we all know who the boss is. And it's so funny though, because people will go, him and I will be talking or out somewhere, and they'll go on. Oh, so you work for Mr. John? John's like, oh shit. But he knows what's coming. So he works for me actually. And everybody's just like, we had a bunch of his famous friends over, and it's like, so what do you mean he works for? He said, I host on his network. He said, technically I do work for him. They were like, because I talk to him rough sometimes, mostly teasing, but I do, and people don't always understand our relationship. So I like to see him treating y'all good. I like to see him taking care of y'all. I like to see the staff taking care of y'all.
I'm just gonna throw this out there, okay?
Throw it out there.
Got to author services, go into the room, you see the literal gold cappuccino machine.
Oh yeah.
And he's standing in there. He's like, would you like a cappuccino? Yeah. And he's sitting there making you a cappuccino. And you're like, okay, I like this man.
By the way, we were talking about the president of Galaxy Press. Not nobody.
Yeah, he's literally like every single morning when we go in there, he's in there like big old grin on his face. He's like, who needs a cappuccino?
I always tell him he's working for his retirement as a barista. So I said, well, you're tired, you can be a barista. He's going to be like, when he retires, he'll be in a box. He really likes being with all these winners. He really does.
I'm just going to throw this out there. Anyone that makes me a good cup of coffee, they're on my good list.
I like a good cappuccino. I mean, I like that good anything, but as long as it's strong, because I'm from New Orleans and we don't know what weak coffee is. So we drink coffee and chicory.
Well, I used to live in Alaska, right?
It's tough.
Not a lot of benefits to living up there, but we had good coffee. I moved down to Utah, and I asked the dreaded words in Utah. I was like, "Hey, what's the best coffee shop in town?" And everyone turned and looked at me like I just yelled "bomb" in an airport. and I'm like, "Oh, okay." So it took me a while to find one, and when I finally found one, you know how I knew it was going to be good? I walked in there, and there was the gayest barista you've ever seen. And I'm like, I haven't had a good cup of coffee in like 6 months. Can you help me? And he's like, oh, honey, I'll get you taken care of.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, yes, this is going to be so good. And I was like, oh, it smells like coffee. And I took a sip. Oh my gosh, it's good coffee. And then I went and sat down and started drawing something. I always draw at a coffee shop. Did I tell you about
I don't remember. Tell me.
Oh, all right. I was sitting there.
Watch the little red time.
I was sitting there sketching. Just started this sketch. And this guy comes walking by, glances over his shoulder at it, and he goes, you can draw decent, but you can't do perspective for shit. And kept on walking. And I was like, I'll show you perspective. And I start I'm finishing this thing, right? Get it almost all the way done. And this other guy comes walking by and he stops and he's like, oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but oh my gosh, that is so cool. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen. It's like something from Stranger Things, but without a face. So it's scarier. And I hadn't seen Stranger Things at that point. So I didn't know what he was talking about, but I was just like, oh, thank you. So he gushes about Stranger Things for like 10 minutes and how my piece is actually scarier than the creatures from that. And it's so cool. And at the end of it, he's like, am I right? Am I hitting that nail on the head? I didn't want to lie to him. But I didn't want to be like, I have no idea what you're saying, especially when he's being so nice after asshole. So I was like, I never thought anyone would see that in my work. Legit. So he's like, well, I don't suppose you'd be willing to part with it, would you? And I was like, well, mentally I'm thinking I could pick up a couple work shifts and pay rent, or I could sell the drawing for $400. So I'm like, $400? He says, okay. And I'm like, damn, I should have said $6.
Oh yeah, that's always rough when you do that.
But you know, ever since then, you know, you if you find a coffee shop with a very gay barista, you're going to have a good cup of coffee, and you're going to sell your art.
So I'll tell you a little secret I had to learn the hard way when I was in my 20s. Pricing is really important. So anytime you undercut yourself, you lose respect of people who look at your work. Okay, so if she's willing to part with it for that little money, is she really that good of an artist? It doesn't matter. It works for all aspects of life. I'm a contractor, and people used to ask me all the time.
I was drawn for about 45 minutes. I was okay with $400 for 45 minutes at that point.
Price, but so
I hadn't won the competition yet or illustrated anything on a professional level at that point.
You have to always put yourself first on those kind of things. Because people used to ask me all the time, how can you do work that cheap? How do you even make any money? Well, I made good money. But they said it so much that all of a sudden I just started bumping my prices up slowly until I was somewhere in the upper middle range of all of the contractors in the area. And so that put me in a good position. And you'll know, I mean, you can look around and see other people's work, what it's selling for, what it's not selling for. New Orleans is a weird place. When you go art hunting, the prices are like, and you never know what it's going to be. Some of the old stuff is high, some of it's not. You know, you never know what you're going to see. And down there, when you get in there, those shops are 100, 150 years old, 180 years old. There's art that's been there that long, just laying, sitting around, covered, dust on them and stuff. You didn't know what half more. And then you wipe the dust off and they look brand spanking new, like it's oil. So it's a weird thing.
The beautiful. A good oil painting is going to look good way after we're dead.
I got a friend that restores oil paintings for the museum, actually. He was showing me how they do cracks. I said, I'm a contractor, right, who works with acrylics, right? He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. I said, I understand how to fill a crack. He said, but it's the same process, man. It's just on a much smaller level. That's why I was telling him earlier today. I said, I guarantee I paint more acrylic than everybody combined 10 times. But actually, that paint's probably better for walls anyway, but still. So now you got to go to the thing over there, the L. Ron Hubbard Museum, and well, they got a lot of gold leaf in there, huh? You see them ceilings? Lord have mercy. And the bank covered that.
Beautiful building. Interesting tour. There was a bit in there where, he was talking about the stuff that happened in Alaska and having lived there and remembering how dangerous those beaches are.
He was everywhere for a long time until he got into us stuff. But he was all over the place. And it's interesting and fascinating reading some of the stuff. What I did was when I met John, I went back and found some reels from the 30s, 40s, 50s, World War II, stuff like that. They had old reels that you could find in different places. So I started looking at it. He did a lot of talking. There's a lot of stuff on him. He talked about a lot of stuff. I was kind of impressed with that. But that's as far as I can go with him, because then after that, I really didn't follow anything he's done, or let me rephrase, I wasn't interested in me after that point. But to each his own. I do like the tour, and I do like the little thing, the meter thingy. Well, last year I was playing with it, and Chelsea's like, and lady, we're talking about Chelsea Garcia. She's the curator of the museum. She hands me the thing, and I go, "What am I supposed to do with these?" She said, "I said, kind of squeeze." She said, "No, you're not supposed to squeeze them." I said, "Why am I going to break them?" She said, "No, just hold them." And she said, "Think about what?" She said, "Just think." I said, "What about what?" So the thing starts going, shh. She got you stressed. I said, "You got to be kidding me, right?" I said, "What stress do you want to know?"
We live in America.
I'm like, I got 3 companies in the research organization. Damn right, I got stress. I got kids, grandkids, great kids. I'm like, come on, man. Don't even ask me that question. But it's not the kind of stress that kills me. Well, at least hopefully that didn't kill me. So we went over there now. Y'all come back. So you've had, so who you had? Dan, Tom. Has Larry spoke?
I don't think so. I think he's tomorrow, isn't he?
Larry.
Yeah.
Well,
Bob's tomorrow.
Bob's tomorrow.
So Larry's great, but
And April.
April's always fun too. So, and oh God, I have to tell you this real quick because I'm using your time. So, April meets Larry,
Mhm.
both of them in tears. So they get up. He gave her the award on stage. Oh my God, I didn't think either one could make up the stage. I mean, they were just the whole audience could feel the emotion off of these two, and she was just dumbfounded by the guy. She was. Because April's cocky. She's not a little wimpy girl, and she's one of the ones. One reason I liked her and Nancy is because they stood up. Out of that whole entire Illustrator class, they were only two that asked questions the whole entire time. And so when I asked them questions, they were, and April is she's very pointed. I always mess with her, I see her though, but she does draw a mean dragon.
Well, we're kind of a rambunctious lot this year on the Illustrator side, from
yeah.
whatever.
Oh no, y'all are. For John was funny. I called John up after I had, because we done y'all first. I called John. I said, John, this is a really good group. I'm looking forward to seeing them in person. He's like, really? I said, yeah. Everyone I've spoke to has been really good. I said, there's two kind of a little shy, but the rest of them are very outgoing. Aren't scared of being on the air. Not scared of being asked questions. And I can understand. I mean, we don't. That's why we don't tell you what the audience is live anyway. Because I messed up one time. I forgot we had this guy on, and he said he was going on, and John said, how many we got listening right now? So I don't know, about 2.6. He almost. He turned like white. And then I was like, dude, you okay? He's like, he couldn't talk. I said, we're going to break right quick. Click. I said, are you okay? He said, I got to catch my breath, man. I said, don't even think of it. I said, the whole point is we don't want you to think about the audience. We want you to feel like it's just a chat. We're just hanging out. It's like being on a phone call with somebody you know. And it's just one of those things. Now, you ready for the gala?
The gala? Oh. Well,
gala, whatever you want to pronounce it. It's like they pronounce like 5 different names.
It depends. It depends. Okay. The acceptance speech.
Right?
Well, if I pass out, I'll fall in your direction. I promise. Catch me.
Usually they have me sitting on right on the corner of the stage. You just several screenshots. You'll see when they hit me up and stuff. But last year I was sitting with John and Emily in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it's a lot. I have a good time anywhere.
So legitimately, if I black out, I'm falling.
It'll be easier this year, so they might put me over me and be like,
I might break the table, man.
Have y'all met B. Johnson? Have y'all met her?
Yeah, we met her today.
Yeah, she's energetic with her kids' books and drawings and writings. And we were talking with her. I said, girl, I like writing. I said, whatever. I said, you do what you want. She's really sweet. She's really nice. And there was a guy I wish y'all could have met. He was an author. An illustrator. I have to get it. He actually, I think, does some judging for him from downtown. Well, the first time I met him, he was talking about a mural he did outside of a building. So he went out there. He had this little thing he put up on there, and he went and painted the whole mural on it. It was fabulous. Like $10,000 for like 2 days' work, 3 days' work. That was it. Now, from last time I talked to him, he was getting a different kind of technique where it could be much more intense. Yeah, painting on brick outside cannot be easy. In New Orleans, they used the prisoners to do it. Oh no, you'll see like at the aquarium, they painted big, huge sperm whales all over it. Whoever's doing this is a great artist. They're just in jail. That's all. God knows how long they're in jail for. But,
if I were ever in jail, I would want that duty as well.
So they get out there. So, and then of course let's see who's over there. I want to talk about. So, well, y'all went to the barbecue today. Oh, the book. I'm going to ask you about the books and how you like working your little fingers off.
Well, I will say this. If I wasn't already an artist, it would have been an issue. But we sit there doing this all day long. And it was no different.
The authors were doing this after about 10 minutes.
Yeah. All of us artists are just like, come on, man. Come on. The only author that's beaten us is Brandon Sanderson. Come on.
Well, Echo's the fastest sign we have. She's usually done way before anybody. Last year was 500 books. First year it came was like 700. And I'm like, wow.
Well, there was a couple. I'll be fair. There were a couple. There were some authors that were kind of sitting across from where I was at the signing table. Was signing it a chore? 'Cause I don't know. So they'd sign it and they'd be like, accomplished, boom, and they like bang the books down on the table. So I'm sitting here trying to sign it and I'm like,
no.
trying to sign when the table's moving because they're just like, done. I'm like,
It's the first time we ever signed.
it was
on
energetic.
the
We were
thing.
having fun with it.
Yeah, at least you could say you signed. You had rooftop signing in Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
True,
Mhm.
true. I can also say that no one will be able to read my signatures.
Well, you know what? I see art all the time. I can't make it with the hell of signatures. I'm there with a freaking magnifying glass going, what?
Mine's gonna be the squiggly one that looks like it was gonna be a letter and then has like the sudden interruption.
I got a painting in my house with beautiful oil painting. And I'm looking at the picture, the signature one day, and I realized there was a signature underneath it. So I took it to a friend of mine at the art gallery. I said, find out what this is. He said, you got an expensive painting. I was like, this is expensive. It's a bunch of flowers, dude. He said, trust me, Joe.
Yeah.
He's a good. I said, if I was you, I'd insurance. Insurance? He said, I'll come with you. I'll give the documentation. I still don't know what the hell it is. I'm lost. I mean,
apparently something that someone else is like, oh no, this was mine.
Yes, it's crazy. I mean, I've come across some pieces and got lucky and bought some, but still, it's I'm a big fan of oil. I'm not gonna lie, I always have been. I'm a big fan of art in general. I like oil for some reason. I don't know what it is. So let's see where we are. We're at the hotel. We got all this stuff going on. We got a full day tomorrow, right? It's pretty big, pretty busy day. Oh, it's a rehearsal tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, we get to go try to demonstrate that we will not fall off the stage when we get there.
Well, you know, there's some pluses for y'all. Y'all don't have to read the teleprompter.
Mhm.
You know, so that's a plus because you know they have the 3 teleprompters in there, so you're like, you know, your face is going back and forth. They do that, so it looks like you're just naturally talking. It's I hate reading off teleprompters.
Yeah, I'd be standing up there being like, wait, which one am I supposed to look? Oh, that one. Wait, which one am I? Oh, that one.
It's you know. But no, they let y'all write your speeches out, and if you got to bring it up on thing, you know, a piece of paper, something they don't mind. You know, I've seen many people take it out. Okay, it's like they're unfolding a map or something, put it down, and they read it. And there's a lot of good ones.
There's I was talking to one of the prior winners. I think it was actually the guy that entered into the writing side like 42 times.
Oh, Preston.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was telling me, I think
yeah.
it was Preston, but he was telling me, he's like, yeah, when I wrote my acceptance speech, it was so long ago. You know, I was surprised it wasn't dusty. I got this mental picture of someone walking up there, unfolding the piece of paper, and going, the cloud of dust. I'd be like, okay, I'm ready now.
Longest, but and I don't get it because he's a host on a network. He's a prolific writer. He writes books that people.
Amazing.
I don't know what that was about, but hey, actually he didn't pro out, so that was cool. He's like my friend Nick Redfern. Nick is a 9 to 5 writer. He gets up on Monday morning, he goes in, sits and gets his coffee, his little biscuit, and starts writing. Takes a break at lunch, and he quits at dinner, 9 to 5. Last time I talked to him, he had 271 books. He's constantly.
I can't even
and
imagine.
On so many different topics, and so many weird topics like cryptos and stuff. It's just so weird. But hey, you know, it's what he does for a living. He likes doing it. And his wife's an artist. She makes a good living too. I mean, they're not, you know, billionaires, but they're comfortable. And it's but you know, it's really getting that first commission. The really good first commission is what it's about. It's hard. Or if you're going to go work for a company, so that's y'all's choice. You want to be independent, or do you work for a man?
Honestly,
since today could be the girl,
I'd be good.
Man, there we go.
I'd be good with either, so long as I get to do more of like the fantasy and sci-fi. I used to do portraits, and you know, when you do a portrait, your client's happy with you. Then your client's mother isn't happy with you because she thinks she looks 20 years younger than she is.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, the thing with portraits is it's so finessed. If something looks just a little bit off, you're like, okay, I got to fix this because grandma can't look constipated. It's a family portrait. If it's fantasy, if something starts to look a little bit weird, it's like, okay, let's make it weirder. And it's more fun. You know, so
it really can. I enjoy watching people. That's why I like what I tell y'all about on the French Girl. I like to go sit out there and watch them pay. But don't forget things like gaming companies. They pay big money for illustrators, and they need lots of them.
Fantasy
Especially the ones
art.
that are not using AI. They need lots of them. And there's a lot of fantasy art in those games. So
fantasy art, sci-fi, creature design. I sit down and I draw all kinds of weird little things. And
remember, with a gaming company, barring a nuclear war, they're there forever.
Hmm.
And they're just going to be there forever. Even if the game's not a flop, if it's a flop, they're still going to be there forever.
Are you trying to tell me that the gaming companies will be there even after the cockroaches are gone?
Pretty much. As long as when I was bad when I was talking about gaming, but the Z's are just as bad as the millennials. Millennials were as bad as the X was as bad as the baby boomers. It's just a thing. It comes in. But when I started playing, I played on a Commodore, and we played Pong. But you know what? The people started playing Pong were much better gamers because Pong at high speed is extremely difficult.
Leapfrog.
Oh yeah,
that old. Yeah.
And then what was the first one after that I played? I think it was Mario Brothers or something.
Tetris.
I played Tetris. Yeah, a lot of Tetris and Mission Battlefield, whatever else where you stop the missiles from coming in, missile command. And I played that a lot when I was in the Navy, so I wouldn't go crazy and kill somebody. So I was like, look, people, you better leave me alone. It's but I mean, there's just lots of opportunities for y'all. Like that's all I'm saying. So and there's so many things. And then there's the other thing. How you have to think about how willing are you to move to where the money is. So that's a big decision. So you're in LA, it's a little bit easier. California's a little more stuff going on out here, even though it's kind of starting to fade. Now it's going to. So the movie industry is going to Atlanta and New Orleans. So, but there's still all kind of other stuff out here. But New York's got a lot of stuff going on there for a lot of different companies. Chicago's got stuff, Paris has stuff, England, London. And for some reason, for illustrations, the Europeans prefer to use Americans. Not really? Yeah, not. And this is a weird thing. So for certain types of art, they want their cells. But for a lot of other stuff, it's something about, they say Americans produce more consistently when it comes to certain types of art. And I was like, that's great. That's great for us. Of course, there's always China.
Honestly,
that would be some hard art.
If I move somewhere, I would probably have to be able to speak the language because, I'll be honest, I'm not smart enough to be bilingual.
Well, today you don't actually have to be anymore with all the new translator software. But it's there's just a lot out there. When I was growing up, there was not near this much stuff to get involved in. Now there's all kind of venues and places to look, and there are different types of jobs to get into. So I always tell everybody the same thing: you don't know until you look and try. And then I got friends working at gaming companies. I got a friend who works for a coffee company who makes six figures a year. He makes $650,000 a year to do coffee commercials. Well, and he's not the one writing the coffee commercial.
If my earlier gushing didn't already, express.
Well, you like coffee, see?
Coffee is a thing.
One of our prime anyway, we have Folgers as one of our people on our network. They cover two of our shows, and it's the black silk version of Folgers because that's what I like to drink from them. That stuff makes your eyes roll around in your head. I just like some coffee, but it's
So it might go back to the fact that as an artist, when you're sitting there and you're really into drawing or painting something, and you only realize that it's about 4 a.m. because your eyeballs started itching and you couldn't see the canvas anymore, and that's what made you look at the clock and realize you've been painting for over 12 hours.
Last night.
Coffee.
And I needed some last night. I went to the kitchen at 4:30 in the morning. I'm sitting there going, you could hear me just stopping, talking, just typing. It was crazy. So we got one more question. Really, 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 what is it? If you had your single choice on where you could go or what you could paint or what venue you would work venue, what would it be?
Honestly, anything, probably gaming or character design, because that's the heavier fantasy. I know that's harder competition, but I've always been the person that if I'm going to learn how to do something, you give me the hardest version of that thing and I will tackle it hard.
And don't forget
until I get there. Because if you've managed to do the hardest thing that's out there, the hardest version of it, everything else seems easy after it.
Well, on that note, don't forget Elon Musk said he's going to need illustrators and writers from Mars. I imagine that's going to pay dinero there, man. I'm just saying. Yeah, he said that. It's a,
Yeah, I'm not willing to relocate that far.
a couple of miles
That's
down the
right.
road.
That's a little bit more moving expense than
Yeah,
I am willing to accrue.
It's when I heard that, I was like, did he really say that? And then I realized, well, if you're gonna build a real colony, you're gonna have everything. You know.
I think artists are probably going to be the last people
So
up there.
you know how
though.
much he said he was gonna pay just in every.
I mean, I can just imagine it. We need to send the artist up, but sir, we haven't sent the farmers. Oh,
No.
who needs to eat? We need art.
Well, these pictures of food, that'll work. It's crazy, but he's serious about all this stuff. It always freaks me out a little bit. But he said,
What do you mean they need bread? Let them see cake.
He said something about they would have paid a toilet plumber guy $1.5 million a year each year for 5 years, and then they send them back to Earth.
Oh.
I was like, okay, I'm not going to Mars. If I was younger, maybe. No, not now. I got other plans now. But I'll tell you what, for y'all, it's not as good. For people my age and other people, Mars extends your life by quite a long time. Well, the lack of gravity on your heart almost gets rid of your blood, and if you got high blood pressure, it pretty much goes away. If you got arthritis or bad joints, it goes away.
Honestly, if Elon Musk wanted to do something art related with going to Mars, it would be going up there and probably getting some actual pigment from Mars, like soil samples, to make pigments. And there's
I like that.
That would be
an oil color called Mars Brown. He could probably, like, that's what he needs to do.
If he really goes to Mars, he's going to be so rich. It's not even going to be fun. And don't forget NASA.
That would be a very expensive painting, something painted with actual Mars Brown.
Well, don't forget, I mean, they need illustrators for NASA, and almost all the major museums do. But most of what they're doing is fixing work more than doing new pieces. You know. So what time we got right here? How many minutes it says? Little red dot up there.
I don't know. I'm too tired. I see crosswise. 32:03.
Oh, well, we got to go then. So tell them bye. Give them one little plug. Tell them if they can find anything.
Portfolio is Decisive Arts with an S, decisivearts.com. You'll see lots of fantasy art, obviously, original drawings, and now I don't do family portraits anymore.
Yeah, because it could be scary.
Grandma's looked too constipated.
Let's go. What is it? This mouse tonight? I'm having so hard time seeing. Bloop.